Paul is no longer a member of the Clippers. Welcome into Clippers Talk. I'm Adam Osland.
Here we go, Clips fans.
Clippers Talk with Adam Osland. After every game, download every pod. Clippers Talk's the name. He's a basketball talking golden god.
New episodes after every game on demand.
Follow Clippers Talk wherever you get your podcasts. Clippers.
This is going to be an interesting show because I have to do a radio hit with Rogan and Rodney. And I'm just thinking I'll simulcast it here with you guys. I'll do it here. Obviously, the CP3 trade this offseason didn't work out. It's unfortunate. And they're opening up standard contract roster spots for Kobe Sanders and Jordan Miller. That is the intent of all of this. And by the way, the Toronto Raptors, they're not asking CP3 to report. He could be rerouted still. But he is now technically no longer a Clipper, even though he was sent home. So I have to do a radio hit here in just a little bit. And I'll just hang out with you guys and we can simulcast it. Tuka, what's wrong with you? The cats are killing me today. They are getting a Serbian player out of it who was drafted by the Kings in the second round late in 2019. He was now 29 years of age. I'm guessing he's going to be waived. The player's name, I'm going to have no chance pronouncing this. I did retweet it at Follow Adam A if you want to check that out. Vana Mirankovic from Brooklyn, because it was a 3-team trade. But yeah, kind of sad that the CP3 situation didn't work out and it came to this, and he's not getting the farewell season that we were hoping. Sexton's in Chicago and they like him. Kobe White is back in Charlotte, where I think he's from, and they like him. So those two guys could both be off the board for the Clippers now. And I believe after a guy gets traded, you would have to make the salaries match. You can no longer aggregate them in a trade. So you'd have to do a 1-for-1 swap with guys who had just been moved, like Kobe White and like Colin Sexton. I'm waiting for my phone to ring here. Appreciate you guys for joining me. It's going to be a scatterbrain mess of a podcast, but I figure it's worth going live still as I get ready for the game tonight. Hey, who are the Clippers taking on? The Cleveland Cavaliers. Still no word on the physical, which is kind of a big deal. Everything's hinging on that physical. It's yet to be made official that Darius Garland is a Clipper at this point because he has to pass the physical. Same with James Harden going to Cleveland. And while they're in town, I would expect the physical to be taking place today. That is the other shoe waiting to drop. But CP3, they can get Kobe Sanders and Jordan Miller on standard contracts now. That's what this is about. We knew this was coming. Justin Russo put out the tweet too about that. One or both of Kobe Sanders can get and Jordan Miller can get their standard deals now. Some are saying LaMelo time is now. For who? Aren't the Hornets the hottest team in the league? Haven't they won 7 straight? All right, I got to take this call, but I will leave you guys on with me here. Internal mic. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to make sure I can hear you. Check, check. Kevin? Ronnie? Anybody? Hello? 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 I'll try that again. I'm supposed to be doing a radio hit with AM 570, Rogan and Rodney show. I don't know why they couldn't hear me there. I prefer doing it on the Bluetooth headset. And maybe I should just do it on the phone. CP3, no longer a member of the Clippers. Yes, he was already sent home. He wasn't playing or anything, but now it is officially official. Let's just take off the damn headset. What did I buy this thing for? Hello? 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 The fuck? Can you hear me? Oh, Jesus. Hello? Yeah, I got you. Oh, it's just trade deadline. I am streaming right now, but I'm just going to simulcast. About to go on Rogan and Rodney on AM 570 LA Sports. Yeah, I'm aware, Freddie. I'm streaming at Clippers Talk on the YouTube side right now. We're talking about it. This deal was made. It was a long time coming. Remember, he was sent home 2 months ago. So anybody that wanted to trade for CP3 at that time could have. They ended up not having to waive him. But what the Clippers are doing is opening up a roster spot for Kobe Sanders and Jordan Miller. That's why they're making this move. Two young guys that have helped them out greatly. And yes, Toronto doesn't necessarily need him. It just helps facilitate the 3-team trade. And so he's not required to report to Toronto, but he could just be in waiting to be rerouted somewhere else now. They get roster flexibility to sign two-way players to standard contracts like Kobe Sanders and Jordan Miller, who have been a big part of this turnaround because they're running out of days left. In fact, I think tonight would be their last game they could play before they convert those two-way contracts to standard contracts. So what they're getting out of it is those guys who have been helping them continuing to help them now, Fred. Right. You get on the standard contract, you're good for the rest of the season, you're playoff eligible, all those things. This youth movement going on with the Clippers currently, a lot of it is the Kobe and the Jordan move that's going on right now. Well, we knew this was coming within, Clipper Nation. We've been waiting for this to happen because we knew they were running out of days on the two-way contract. So this just gets them closer to that happening. Expect them to be signed to standard deals now. A very disappointing, unceremonious exit from the Clippers and the farewell tour. None of it ended up working out. It's unfortunate. They tried to blend two different eras together with Kawhi Leonard and CP3, the Lob City era with the 2-1-3 era. It didn't work. It wasn't the right fit. CP3 and apparently his personality wasn't working in that locker room. And I'm not saying this is the reason, and we've talked about it before, guys, that the Clippers have gone on this big run since sending him home, but it may play a factor. Obviously, it just was a bad blend of personalities out there. So he could be waived, and then anybody could pick him up that's under the first apron, and that's under the luxury tax. He could be rerouted, but I think that would have to be a 1-for-1 trade with the salary exactly matching whatever's coming back to Toronto now, since he is technically a Toronto Raptor at this point. But it's not ending the way you'd like to see it happen for a superstar. Unfortunately, CP3 this season, guys, remember last year he really helped that San Antonio Spurs team. It'd be interesting if he ended up going back there, but he looked to be playing much better last season. Rodney, you know about this. It can go quickly for athletes. You can go from 1 year starting almost every game, I think, for San Antonio, playing significant minutes, to then all of a sudden you're no longer the same player and you're having trouble bringing the ball into the front court. That's what we were seeing with CP3 at times. It just seemed like he lost his basketball powers, and it was hard to watch. It was unfortunate. Yeah, like I said, it's a difficult, awkward situation because the vibes were so high when they brought him in. They had his introductory press conference. They had kind of a meet and greet thing with the fans where he got emotional on stage with Brian Seaman. Everything was trending towards this is going to be a great reunion with the Clippers. It didn't end up that way. You know, you start the season 6-21 and you're falling apart the way they were. And then there's a guy in the locker room who just has a different way to lead out there, who is calling people out. Apparently, you guys have read the reports. We've talked about it, and it just didn't work. It didn't help them get out of the rut they were in. So he was sent home, and now he's sent to Toronto. And it's not like he actually is on the plane there. He doesn't have to report. So, look, it's an awkward situation, but they didn't end up having to waive him. He was traded, so there is a possibility a team out there is still looking to pick him up. I think you have to take on the risk, even of somebody like Darius Garland and his injury history this past season with the toe issues. Going back to last year, that playoff run really ended for them in the second round against Indiana for the Cleveland Cavaliers because Darius Garland, he had turf toe and he could only play 3 games. He didn't look the same at all. He had off-season surgery. He starts this year slowly. I think he missed the first 7 games, and then he kind of was ramping his way up. And then he looked very good for about a month from mid-December to the first couple of weeks of January, and then he sprains the right toe on the other foot. So people are wondering, is this going to be a recurring issue? And that's the only way I can make sense of it from the Cleveland Cavaliers standpoint, why they would give up on a guy who's 26 and a 2-time All-Star. But the Clippers were in a position to take advantage of that opportunity because it looked like 2 weeks ago, from all the reporting that I've seen, James Harden was looking to get that extension from the Clippers, and that's really what this comes down to. He came to that point that Norman Powell did, where he's wondering if he's going to be extended past 2027, where the Clippers don't want to have a ton of guys on the books because they want to go big game hunting. James Harden realized at 36, they're not going to be holding on to him for too much longer. And so he saw the opportunity now to be traded, and he has a possibility to get his money, another 2-year, $80 million type of deal from the Cleveland Cavaliers. And also, to be fair, they have a better chance to get to the finals this season in the Eastern Conference in Cleveland. That's clear. The Clippers are still 3 games under 500. They've done great work the last 6 weeks. Hottest team in the league. But they haven't climbed out of the hole they dug for themselves starting off 6-21 yet. So James Harden, I get it. And there's no ill will. I mean, he made a lot of doubters believers with Clipper Nation, where they weren't sure about him at first. And with the way he played as a Clipper, he helped them tremendously last season, win 50 games when they only had 37 from Kawhi Leonard. He gave them a lot of great moments. You can make the argument James Harden is a top 10 Clipper of all time, even though he was only here for 2.5 seasons, 50-point games. The Game 4 floater game he had to close out Dallas in the first round to beat him in that game at the end. He gave him some great memories. So I don't think there's any bad blood. This was an amicable split between him and the Clippers. He saw they weren't going to pay him. They said, okay, we'll try to send you somewhere else then. But I don't think the Clippers were bullied into this. They said, if we find the right spot for you, we'll send you out. They did because they got something back in Darius Garland, a guy that they could really use moving forward to bridge eras, a 26-year-old 2-time All-Star who has one of the best handles in the league. He can do a lot of the stuff that James Harden does and has done, which is run high pick and roll, which is get his big men involved. He's a very good three-point shooter. He's also better off ball than James Harden because James Harden's an ISO god. Now, Darius Garland isn't as good in isolation, but he's much better playing off of others. So to get a guy at 26 like this, that's a pretty big win for the Clippers. We'll see how it plays out with the injury and the physical coming up. I'm still waiting for that shoe to drop to see this thing become official because it's not official yet. The teams haven't reported this. We're still waiting for physicals to clear. And, oh, by the way, the Clippers are taking on the Cavaliers tonight at Intuit Dome. Yeah, I think that's the upside they're looking for. They think James Harden has a higher ceiling than Darius Garland because James Harden has an easier time scaling up and being the number one option at times because that's what he's been throughout most of his career. And I mentioned him being in a tier, really a class by himself in NBA history when it comes to ISO scoring and points per possession. And a lot of playoff games come down to that. You're in a 7-game series. They know what you're running. By the end of the series, it's just your best against their best. Well, now Donovan Mitchell doesn't have to do everything in that respect. And Darius Garland, he came up short at times in the playoffs, partially because of injury, partially maybe because he was a young player. He's only played 22 playoff games. James Harden has played almost 180 playoff games. Like, he has a ton of experience. You can say it hasn't always gone his way, especially in elimination games. He's had some bad experiences there, of course, but he still has had good playoff series, good playoff games. And I think he was a victim of his era to some degree because when he had his best team in Houston, they went up against the best team of all time, in my opinion, in the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant. That series went 7. CP3 got hurt the last 2 games. Otherwise, we may not be talking about James Harden coming up short in the playoffs. He'd already be an NBA champion. It just so happened he was going up against the best team ever. So I think he can help Cleveland get to that higher ceiling just because he can run the offense himself out there, which takes a lot of pressure off of Donovan Mitchell, who apparently was really pushing for them to make this move, which makes more sense of why they would do this. When your superstar, who also I think is extension eligible coming up, wants you to make that push, I think Donovan Mitchell will be a free agent in 2027. You start listening to that guy. He wants James Harden. They got him. It makes sense. Here's what Dallas ended up getting here, Freddie. And I'm not, pulling this off top. I got it in front of me. They turned Luka Doncic into, in the end, Max Christie, a 2029 Lakers first-round pick, a 2026 Thunder pick after today's trade, which is going to be the 30th pick in the draft, a 2030 Golden State Warriors first-round pick if it finishes somewhere between 21 and 30 and 3 seconds. That's what they ended up getting for Luka Doncic. That is an all-time misfire. I don't blame them doing this deal today. At some point, you just have to cut your losses with Anthony Davis because they do get more cap flexibility because of this. And they're looking at another generational player in Cooper Flagg with how good he's been. I think he's had 35, 34, and 49 points in his last 3 games, and they've lost all 3 because he doesn't have enough help around him. Now, they're going to be in the draft this year. They have some extra picks, even if they're late first-round picks. But what they could have got for Luka Doncic, if they had put him on the open market and said, we're taking the highest bid, you're looking at 5 first-round picks. You're looking at some type of deal like what the Clippers gave up to get Paul George, which meant they would get Kawhi Leonard. That's the type of deal they missed out on because – for whatever reason, Nico Harrison was obsessed with Anthony Davis, I guess going back to their Nike connection. And he thought, well, you have to build with a defensive unit. You guys don't see the vision. I'm the smartest man in the world. You're all wrong. I'm right. It's hubris. It's ego. It's wanting to prove everyone right. he's out now, obviously, and Dallas felt like we just have to move forward. Even though it doesn't look good in the end, it's still better to get this done now than to wait for the next Anthony Davis injury next season and try to trade him then. You're getting even less back in return. You want to talk about pennies on the dollar. I mean, it's brutal, but it's still, at least they have a direction, I would say. In some ways, they have overcome Nico Harrison just by having the building block of Cooper Flagg, cap space, and even a few more first-round picks, even if they're late first-round picks. They did the best they could with the poor position they were put in. I mean, if they could find, remember last season they got Dorian Finney-Smith, and that was a big deal for them. They end up losing him. Now it doesn't look as bad of a loss now because he's been injured throughout most of the season, so maybe it ended up being the right move. But they still need wing help. That has been the problem. Jake LaRavia hasn't been good enough. I told you guys coming into the season, they need one of these three players to have a career year: Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia, or Vando. Well, Marcus Smart has had his moments here and there. Jake LaRavia has been okay at times, but they're not having career years out there. And Vando has still had issues just getting on the court and into the rotation. So they haven't got enough help defensively. And the one thing I thought about immediately yesterday when it went down with Jaren Jackson Jr. being traded to Utah is Lauri Markkanen available now? Is Markkanen gettable? Because that's a stretch big. That would be very interesting. He's similar to Jaren Jackson Jr. Utah could say, well, we got two guys and we like how they play and they're versatile and they can work next to one another. Or they could say, now Markkanen's a little bit expendable. Walker Kessler's out for the season with that shoulder surgery. Otherwise, I think everybody's calling on him. And I still wouldn't be shocked if somebody made a Godfather offer for him right now, even though he can't play this year. But can the Lakers really sell their fans on, hey, we got this guy. We know he can't help us this season, but he'll be better for the future? Depending on what you give up, I mean, Walker Kessler would be huge. That was apparently number one on Luka Doncic's, big man list that he gave to Rob Pelinka of saying guys he'd like to play with. Mark Williams was also lower on that list. They traded for him. He didn't pass the physical, apparently. So can something be done with Utah still? That would be a huge move for them. But remember, they just got Austin Reeves back. He just came back yesterday. They've been without him for some time. They have been losing games partially because of that, but he doesn't help you defensively. He doesn't solve those issues. They have to find more two-way guys in a wing or a big man because Fred was right again. I don't know why we doubt him. When it comes to DeAndre Ayton, he is the expert. He's been DeAndre Ayton before it was cool. And once again, as the season has moved along, DeAndre Ayton has looked more and more like the player we've seen the last few seasons and not the guy that was on fire for being a Laker and post-game had that big rant where he was swearing about how happy he was being a Laker. Things change quickly, so they could still use a big man in a wing. Fred, I love the modern NBA. I defend it all the time. But they may have crossed a line here. I can't defend this. This is soft. Back in my day in the 90s, we had Charles Barkley fighting, Rocky the mountain lion from the Denver Nuggets or whatever all the time. Like that, it was WWE wrestling with those two. There were no suspensions. I can't believe this happened. It's not like they just played the Wizards last night either. Who found the footage? Because I see it out there now. And I would say, well, did the mascot, did the kid underneath it actually get hurt? Did they break their paw? Well, what happened to get a guy suspended over this during the pregame introductions? Like maybe the Lakers are actually the ones pushing for this so that he can be put in some trade or something like that. About damn time. About damn time. Look, I wasn't shocked. I actually predicted he wasn't going to make it in the reserves, just looking at who were the starters and then who were some of the guys
that are the young guys that they want to promote here. And look, it's a coach's vote. It's a coach's vote. And he had missed 13 games, and the Clippers started 6-21. So he may have just faded into the background for some people, even though they've been the hottest team in the NBA the last 6 weeks, and they forgot about just how good he has played overall this season, averaging 28 points per game, shooting 50, 40, 90 splits. Kawhi is arguably having his best offensive season ever, and the defense has been pretty damn solid too. But I knew LeBron was getting in, of course, so there's a spot right there. Anthony Edwards, rightfully so, should be in. And then it comes down to guys like Devin Booker and Chet Holmgren. And I think you can make an argument for Kawhi over them, but they all have better records overall. And I think a lot of this was just based on team record and not looking at just how good Kawhi Leonard has been. And availability does have to matter. I mean, missing 13 of the first 47 games of the season means you missed about 30% of the first half of the season. That's not nothing. But the game's at Into a Dome. Kawhi's been special. You got to have him in. I knew it would happen somehow. And it's interesting how they'll just tweak the rules all of a sudden, because Giannis Antetokounmpo is the guy who's out. He's an Eastern Conference All-Star. So you're adding a guy who's a Western Conference All-Star, but the game is USA versus the world. So what do conferences matter anyway? So it's just a mess, but I'm glad they got him in. No, you're completely right. Like, everybody took an opportunity to say, this is why I hate LeBron James. This is his fault. First of all, it's completely consistent with how older stars have always been treated later in their careers, still making the All-Star game. Jordan, Kobe, Bird. Guys, Magic Johnson made the All-Star game when he wasn't even in the league. Like, to act like it's that serious. Oh, this is an abomination that LeBron James would make the All-Star game. He's playing better than a lot of those older fading stars that I just talked about that made games back in the day. So it's consistent to have LeBron James in. But it's just another reason for people to hate on him. They will find any way to do so. And I'm not the biggest fan either, but I at least try to be fair about it. And this was consistent with how they always did it. I'm on right now, Freddie. Pull up YouTube. Clippers Talk. You're on too.
All right. Love you guys. Talk soon. All right. There's Fred and Rodney on AM 570 LA Sports. First time in league history a player was forced to be an all-star in this manner. What do you mean? I don't understand what you mean there. What time is it? 1:30. All right. I got my headset connected again. Wizards are not looking to be a problem next year, in my opinion. There's Trae Young has fatal flaws. Anthony Davis can't stay healthy. Like, sure, they should make the play-in at least in the Eastern Conference, but I think that's a little bit overdoing it, right? They're going to be a problem next year. Look, if Anthony Davis can play 60 games, yes, because I do like that pairing to make up for Trae Young on the perimeter and his defense if you got Anthony Davis behind him. But how can you rely on AD? He's one of the best players in the NBA. How can you rely on him? That's tough. So I get why they did it. I think they're fed up with the rebuild cycle, and they're still going to have a top pick in this year's draft. Because is AD going to even come back and play this year? Is Trae going to come back and play this year? They're going to finish with likely a top 5 pick this year. So they've done enough fishing for picks. Now it's time to be good. There's probably some impatience going on with Washington and the ownership group to a degree.
and they're like, well, we're watching teams like the Houston Rockets 2 years ago went from one of the worst records in the league, and they jumped up last year, and they ended up being the 2 seed. And then this year with San Antonio, they're seeing other teams make huge leaps from one year to the next, and they're saying, why can't that be us? That's what I'm guessing the thought process is with the Washington Wizards right now. Best guess. Has any other trades gone down? Ivica Zubac is out tonight due to personal reasons, but it's not trade related, says Tomer Azarli. Okay. Some people are saying he's out with a broken heart because James Harden's gone. It is his guy. All these personal like James Harden, we ended up figuring out what the deal was, right? Now I did hear from Tomer initially he was out for personal reasons, and then it turned into the trade thing with James Harden. But have any other trades gone down since I was on the phone there? Okay, the Clippers, somebody is reporting that Kobe Sanders is getting the standard contract. Nothing shocking there. Kings are in on Ja Morant, but he'd much rather go to Miami, of course. Oh, paternity related. Congratulations to Ivica Zubac. They're having a baby. Baby Zoo. I saw Bob Smith's already talking crap. He's saying he's a coward because he doesn't want to go up against Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. That is definitely not true. He said saw the Jared Allen 40 piece and shut it down. Can you guys get after Bob Smith at Fear the Fro podcast for me? In fact, I'm going to put this tweet up. You guys got to straighten him out for me since Bob Smith came on the show twice yesterday. I need you guys to get him for me. And it is fun having the back and forth with him during Clippers Cavs games. Can you guys straighten this man out, please? We can't let him talk about Ivica Zubac like this. Respond to this tweet. Say you were sent here by me. Out Ivica Zubac, parentheses, cowardice. Saw the Jared Allen 40 piece and shut it down. What BS. Disgusting. Sick him. Get his ass, please. Big Baby Zoo. Paul will be bought out. Chris Paul will be bought out. I mean, that makes sense. He ain't going there. Bought out. Some team will pick him up. Some team will. I want to see CP3 on a team. I do. I know he didn't look good early this season, but find the right match, make it happen. Now, can you guys imagine Ivica Zubac gets that dad strength? Ooh. I mean, that's 20 and 12 every night. If it's related to him becoming a father here. At least Tomer put in, it is not trade related. Thank goodness. People would have freaked out so hard here. All right, I think I'm good for now. I got to get ready for the game tonight. Clippers taking on the Cavaliers without James Harden, without Ivica Zubac. Not going to be easy. Arise, Brooke Lopez, Yannick Conan Niederhauser, big game. Hey, Kobe Sanders and Jordan Miller, you got to be feeling really good about yourself. You're getting the standard contracts. Have even more confidence. Somebody's pointing out that the Lakers are the only competitive team remaining that can offer max cap space in 2026 now. Yeah, the Clippers could have if they had waived James Harden and only paid him 13 million. They could have got to max cap room this coming summer, but that's not happening now with Darius Garland. I think we're fine with that. They still have a max slot for 2027. Why is someone responding? Any truth to trading Zoo? He lines up with DG, so would prefer to keep him. Also, any chance we can get one of Mathurin or Watson for Bogey? I think watch Bogey, watch Kobe Brown. Those are two guys to watch moving forward here at the trade deadline. Watch out for Jackson Hayes. My goodness. All right. Appreciate you all. If nothing breaks, I'll see you at Into a Dome later tonight. Yannick, Conan, Niederhauser. It is time. Baptize Evan Mobley and Jared Allen so I can get after Bob Schmidt's ass. Talk to you guys pregame, 6:30, right back here. It's Clippers Talk.